everybody. Welcome to Monday Morning Must Knows. My name is Merlin Rothwell, and here are several things to pay attention to for the upcoming trading week. Last week, kind of an interesting one. We finished on some very, very interesting notes. If you look at the S&P and the NASDAQ, we have these gigantic shooting star formations, which are pretty bearish. Other than that, not a lot of really exciting economic data, but I do have some pretty good economic data coming out this week for you. So let's start things off there with our earnings calendar. There are 239 companies reporting this week. There are a couple of big names. Nothing on Monday, but we start things off on Tuesday with FedEx and Carnival Cruise Lines. Wednesday brings you Micron Technologies, Paychex, General Mills, and Levi's. And on Thursday, we got Nike, McCormick Company, and Walgreens Boots Alliance. I'll tell you, if you want a funny-looking chart, we always talk about the trend is your friend until the bend at the end. Well, it took the Titanic, from the time it hit that iceberg, 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink. Take a peek at this chart. This thing has been sinking for 7 years plus. Walgreens Boots Alliance looking absolutely awful, and we'll see if this earnings announcement continues that downward trend for WBA. All right, Friday brings you nothing, which means we're going to jump to the housing data. There are 4 pretty big pieces of housing information coming out this week, big releases, and it's all throughout the week. We start things off on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with the K Shiller S&P Composite 20 Home Price Index, which has been rising recently. We also have at that exact same time the HPI numbers, that's month-over-month change. Then we follow that up with new home sales on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Finally, on Thursday, we have the pending home sales. That's going to happen at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, rounding out a quadruple announcement for the housing sector. Now, why is this important? Well, we've seen the 10-year bond fall over the past couple of months, and that's making home affordability a little bit easier. Maybe you couldn't qualify for a 7% loan. Maybe you're getting 6.5%. It does act as a potential fuel for the housing markets. And of course, at this moment in time, the markets are looking for any positive sign. Demand for houses would drive these markets up even more. So expect volatility around these announcements, particularly with some of those home builder stocks like Simon Property Group, Toll Brothers, Lennar, KB Homes. Simon Property Group really more of a diversified ETF of real estate, and there's plenty of other ones out there like IYR that could be impacted by this as well. So let's move on to your next piece of information, which is going to be the GDP numbers. That's gross domestic product, and this is the final one. Remember, there is an advanced number, a preliminary, and then the final GDP. They were released monthly, and this is the final lock it in kind of growth number for the U.S. You can see here on your screen, the previous number was 3.4%. Now, this is going to come out Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, so 1 hour before the market opens. And is there going to be a big change? I don't know if we'll see necessarily a big change, but the expectation right now is that we're going to come out slightly higher than that little 3.4 number right there. It's going to maybe be 3.5, 3.6, so people optimistic about GDP growth, which of course is good news for the economy, and those of you who think the Fed may cut rates, this may also help you out there. Got one last piece for you, and this is a biggie, the biggest of the week for sure, and that is going to be the core PCE Price Index numbers happening Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This is very important. This is the most watched index for the Fed with regards to inflation in the United States, and you can see here on the hard red edge of the screen, we are currently at 0.2. Now, 0.2 would give us an annualized inflation rate of 2.4%. Remember, the Fed is looking for a 2% inflation target, so that may almost put us to it. What are the expectations? Drum roll, please. We are going to see expectations of 0.1%. So more people feeling like inflation is starting to fall deeper and deeper, maybe getting into no inflation whatsoever. We saw that with the CPI numbers. We saw that with the PPI numbers. And here we have the core PCE Price Index numbers coming out on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which may further put an exclamation point on the victory for the Fed over the dreaded inflation data. So we have a lot of information coming out this week, particularly with the housing. Earnings not really that important, but it's really the housing data and this core PCE Price Index numbers very important for the markets going forward. So pay attention to those times when those releases come out because it could create a lot of volatility. That, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must Knows. We'll see you next week.